Let me tell you a story. So, near January, I experienced a breakup, and I made a really big mistake right after me and her broke up. You see, I would see these videos on monk mode and stuff and productivity, and so I decided to delete all my social media. And when I say social media, I'm not talking about like TikTok or stuff or like some of the like weird dopamine like scrolling ones. Like I already had those deleted. I'm talking like social media is where I was texting friends. I wasn't like, getting the weird dopamine. And so I went from, texting friends and stuff. And, now that I was single, I could like, text some girl, but I deleted everything. And I literally did not talk to any girls. I didn't talk to any of my old friends besides like two friends I had in my iMessage. And bro, it felt so lonely. And I convinced myself that, I was being way more productive. And to be honest with you, I wasn't. If anything, it made me way less productive. And so I remember we went to this wrestling reunion. Me and my mom, we went to our wrestling team reunion. And everyone was sitting at the table. They were all talking. And I'll be honest, I was going through a lot. So I was sitting there and I just looked sad. And I remember one of my friends came up to me and he was like, dude, I haven't even heard from you in so long. Like, it's been crazy. I remember he said something along the lines of, you're like a ghost now. Like, we literally can't even contact you. And I was like, I was convincing myself that that was like a cool thing, but it honestly wasn't, bro. Like, I just genuinely felt so alone. I sacrificed my social life for, trying to be productive and successful. And in reality, it didn't even help. Like, it actually made it worse. I genuinely had like, you can imagine I had worse workouts and stuff. And so eventually I would come to realize that that was an issue. I would get back, the social medias where I was actually like talking to people, and I would start talking with friends, and I would start talking to women again. And life started to feel a lot better. But soon when summer came, I would come to make a very similar mistake. So I would start training martial arts like 2 times every single day. And the thing is with me, if you want to be a professional fighter, you kind of have to like sacrifice your social life to, train so much every single day. But the thing is with me, I have no aspirations to be a professional. Like, I would rather have a better social life. But I didn't really think about it. And so I would keep training. I remember my friends would want to hang out with me, but I'll be like, nah, man, I got practice tonight. And they would be kind of disappointed. And so I kept doing that over and over. I started to get symptoms of overtraining. So I was starting to feel tired. I was starting to feel like grumpy, but I would still go to the practices. I remember I told my mom, I was like, I don't even really enjoy martial arts anymore. Like, it used to be like, 2-3 times every single week, but it started to become this thing where I was doing it like multiple times every single day, and I genuinely started to hate it. And so I would start to overtrain it, and eventually I got an injury. I rolled my ankle and I sprained it, and I also fractured it. And I remember I was just laying in my room. I couldn't really walk, so I couldn't go to the gym. I couldn't go to practice, obviously, so I couldn't do shit, bro. I was just laying in bed all day. And I realized, I was like, I'm making the same damn mistake again. Like, I'm not happy. Like, this isn't the life I want to live. Obviously, like, I don't want to be a professional fighter, so I don't want to sacrifice my social life to be training like 3 times every single day. You see what I mean? So that became a huge issue, and eventually I started to dial back on martial arts. Now I do it like 2 times a week. The issue is with people like us who are like so focused on improving our life is that we can go a little bit too extreme. So we can like convince ourselves that, like me, I went through the monk mode thing and I deleted all my social media. We can convince ourselves that that is productive. We'll convince ourselves that like hanging out with friends or, going on a date with some girl is unproductive. And that is just such a lie. You will start to realize when you get to this stage where you're still productive, like you still have the days where you're solo when you're working on something. Like, maybe like for me right now, I'm solo, I'm recording videos. After this, I'm gonna have this solo workout. But the thing is like, you can live that life, but you can also have some sort of socialization. You can have that balance. And the thing is, so many people will like think to themselves like, oh no, going on dates is a distraction, going out with women is a distraction, hanging out with those friends is a distraction. It would be a distraction if you were, let's say, into hookup culture, if you were going to parties, if you were drinking if you were doing drugs, but you're not doing that. Like that's very obvious. Like if you're watching videos like this, you're not going to be the type of person to do that. At least I would hope you're not. But the thing is, you got to realize that actually like makes you more productive. Like you can imagine if you're happier, when you're happier because you know you have a really good social life. Like imagine me, imagine I could go back in time to when I was so dialed in on martial arts. I probably wasn't even making that much more progress because I just didn't like it. And so now when I go to practice, I actually enjoy it way more. So I'm way more like locked in and stuff. And I'm like actually remembering shit way better because I know that it's like, okay, I'm doing this like twice a week, but then I can hang out with friends and I can go on dates or whatever. And it's just, it makes it more enjoyable. That's the thing. All life is just like chasing happiness, bro. Like some people may feel like their sense of happiness if they're a professional fighter. Other people like me need like a better social life, and you know they want to stay productive, so they still go to the gym, they still go to practice, they still like work on their business or whatever. You just need to find that middle ground to where it's not like you're like the monk mode type of guy where you're not even socializing, but you don't want to be on the opposite extreme where you're like you're socializing, but it's like in a bad way. You're hanging out with bad people. You're, you know, doing drugs, going to parties, drinking or whatever. You don't want to be on that extreme. So that's the way you can just be social without, you know, distracting yourself from being productive, is to just stop thinking that socialization is a distraction, because it's not if you just follow that guideline, and you'll actually start to get way much more success. But if this video helped you at all, I highly recommend to go check out, link in the description for my course. There's so much knowledge in there that I know you would like, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.